Okay, so not surprisingly, we have had some weird startup issues with 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 the live stream for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. It doesn't seem to be broadcasting on the proper event, so apologies for that. But I think we're going to capture this one, and we'll record it, and then we'll push it out, and everybody will be able to see it. So, we were sort of anticipating some growing pains and some challenges with this. I guess disappointed in that regard. So sorry about that, but we will sort it out for the next one. So anyway, thanks for those who are lucky enough to stumble upon. Again, we'll work out the bugs. We'll work out the bugs in the future. So the purpose of the session today, as was in the title, is we have a new release of Fusion coming out. It's actually already gone GA from the software side. And we wanted to highlight some of the key features in the new release and kind of give you an idea what it involves and talk a little bit about what's coming also in a subsequent near-term release for the HCI version. So for those who don't know, IBM Storage Fusion is our container native data services solution and platform for all things OpenShift. It is the industry leading solution for Kubernetes data services, and we are making it available as both software and also in an appliance form factor, a converged appliance form factor. So we're going to talk about version 2.6 of the software, which GA'd, I think, last week, if I'm not mistaken, right? And to do that, we've got a couple of special guests. We've got Ben Randall from the development side of the house, and we've got Greg Deffenbaugh, who is from our architecture and kind of tech sales side of the house as well. I have my usual cohort, Pete Bry here, my co-host, and also Kelly Groff, who is our executive producer and content wrangler and all around, make stuff happen person. So thanks everybody for joining. Let's start off with Ben. I'm going to throw it to you first, and maybe you can give us a quick update on kind of the key features that we want to talk about in version 2.6 of Fusion.
Yeah, when I think about 2.6, I'm primarily thinking about big enhancements that we've made in the area of backup and restore. We have a new architectural model for how you can deploy backup and restore. Up until now, you'll install the Fusion backup and restore service in a cluster, and it acts to back up that cluster. And then there are procedures if you want to, recover your backup and restore in another cluster, or if you want to recover an application in another cluster. The big change that we've made here is the introduction of what we call a hub and spoke model. Essentially, you have a single backup hub, and then you're deploying a lightweight piece of software in a number of other OpenShift clusters, and your hub is going to back up those spokes. And there are a number of different advantages of this type of solution. For one, it's much more lightweight in terms of what you're deploying in your different clusters, so you have less resource overhead. There's also an advantage of the hub and spoke model to where it's only the backup hub that is able to access the actual backups. And so if one of your workload clusters gets compromised, malware isn't actually able to access your backups, and so your backups are still safe under that model.
Cool. Okay, Greg, any additive thoughts? Or I know you're kind of in front of customers every day, talking about these things, getting questions about it. What's your feedback?
Yeah, it's been very positive. I mean, I think as we've talked. We've adopted this paradigm. I think we've nicknamed this backup as code, where we're making backup part of the development process and really asking the app dev teams who understand their application then to document how to back it up and how to restore it in the form of OpenShift custom resources. And that's great. We distributed out the workload to develop it, but what was kind of lacking was that central view of everything that's going on in my environment. And the central backup manager now provides that. So an OpenShift admin, can go in, log in, when they start their day, and they can say, hey, what's the status of all the backups? Did anything fail? Did anything have any warnings? Or are there any applications that have been onboarded that don't have backup policies, right? And so now you've got this, I'll say trust but verify kind of framework where, hey, we're trusting the app dev teams to provide resources to back up their own applications, but we're verifying that it's actually done and they're actually working correctly and all of that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that we talk a lot about in terms of developing data services that are really production ready and sort of meet the base requirements for what you need to deliver a production application in Kubernetes or an OpenShift, right? So a lot of those things are taken for granted as kind of table stakes in, the previous way of doing things. But as we roll forward with modernizing on containers, a lot of these things are not quite as obvious and easy as they used to be. So this is a real step forward in that direction.
So Randy, I want to jump in on that comment that you just made. It's not only that these are, production grade data services that you get together with your OpenShift applications, but we're going on a journey here, and this is the exciting part. One of the things as you start to play and deploy more, Kubernetes applications running on OpenShift, you're going to learn that smaller clusters, more clusters is the way to go. And there's a variety of different reasons for that, ranging from, disaster recovery to how you roll out patches and upgrades and things like that. But there's a methodology here, and I want people to understand this, that it has to do with multi-cluster management and being able to easily and simply manage multiple clusters, potentially hundreds of customers. I know we've got one customer who's got over 650 clusters. And how do you manage all of that? Not just, the operational management experience, but also the data services, everything that Ben was talking and Greg was talking about earlier in terms of being able to do backup and restore across clusters. Those are great things. And this is just the beginning of what we're doing with Fusion in terms of taking all these data services, the Fusion 5 that we talk about, the persistence, resilience, security, mobility, and the cataloging, but bringing that to a multi-cluster world. And this is really the exciting part of it. Without giving away too much about our roadmaps, this is, the cool stuff that our engineers are working on right now, to be able to bring not just that management experience, but also all of these data services into that context.
Yeah, and then when we talk about multi-cluster, I think people have a tendency to think about, a single dashboard where I'm looking out across multiple clusters. And we do very much have that, but you're not going to manage 200 clusters, much yet 20 clusters from, going into a bunch of different UIs or even a single UI and managing all of this. And so a key part that Greg touched on was managing this as code. And we take that, all the way through this process. When I set up my hub and spoke configuration, yes, I could log into GUIs and do that, but really will generate a code artifact, whether a YAML or an OC command. And then I just run that against my 20 clusters that I want to back up. It installs that backup as a service agent. And I've done that all in minutes as opposed to, a very manual process.
Cool. Yeah, so we had a quick graphic here that Greg and Ben put together. I wanted to throw up here to just kind of help visualize what we're talking about, and a lot of the capabilities in version 2.6. I think it makes it a little bit easier to consume. So it's super cool stuff. And there's also some differentiation here too, right? So we have, for example, our customers that are running IBM Cloud Pak for Data, which is the most popular among the variety of cloud packs that we offer. And it's a big portfolio of services built into that cloud pack. I think there's 40-ish of them now, and it's growing all the time. We are the only solution that's able to do stateful kind of application aware backup and recovery of those services within Cloud Pak for Data. So, that's a pretty significant thing. And also that support extends to other cloud packs as well, but we sort of use Cloud Pak for Data as kind of the reference case for that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good example because you have all these different data-centric applications, right? You have your databases, you have things like Watson Knowledge Catalog, and what Fusion is able to do is basically detect that those services are installed in the cluster. There's a automatic orchestration of online backup for all of those, Cloud Pak for Data services, and it's generated automatically for you. There's this code artifact called a recipe that knows how to orchestrate both an online backup as well as a smooth restore for these different data services. And the cool thing is you don't even have to write this orchestration. It's built in with the Fusion and Cloud Pak integration.
Cool. Okay. So what next? What should we highlight as the next cool thing? in version 2.6. We need to have like a wheel, a
Yeah.
feature wheel that we can spin.
I think one of my favorites is, some of the UX enhancements that we've done in terms of doing a multi-cluster restore, right? We've always been able to do that. We've always been able to take an application from one cluster and restore it in another cluster. But now as we introduce this hub and spoke model, it's just as easy as, choosing the cluster that I want to restore in, and automatically having, not only the data, for your application restored there, but all of the, associated etcd resources. Not only is there a simplified workflow for doing that, but also if you lose your actual cluster that's performing backup, now there's this really simple workflow of going to a new cluster, you install Fusion, and you just simply point us to a bucket that has our service catalog in it, and we'll go ahead and restore that in your backup and running.
Nice. That's cool. Which highlights another area of, constant focus and reimagination and, constant process improvement is around user experience, right? We want to make sure that Fusion is very easy to consume and implement and deploy. People that are struggling with modernizing their applications, a lot of infrastructure is new, a lot of workflows and pipeline processes are new. There aren't always generally enough skills to kind of be able to support that whole process effectively. So anything we can do to automate and orchestrate and make it easier and more repeatable, obviously that has an immediate benefit in terms of time to value and the ability to get these OpenShift applications up and running in production as quickly as possible. So, Greg, I guess back to you in terms of feedback from customers. I mean, we often speak to customers who are kind of on this journey where they're trying to modernize their apps, and they've chosen OpenShift as their platform of choice, which most have. It is the industry leading containerization and microservices platform in the enterprise. So what are some of the things that they're asking about or that they're looking for that we're trying to fulfill with Fusion, broadly speaking?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a fair number of customers over the last couple of months as we've kind of been pre-introducing some of these concepts. I think the centralized management piece is something that the OpenShift admins grasp on pretty quick, right? Is this idea that I am being asked to learn a whole bunch of new skills, OpenShift, and how do these things operate, and I'm being asked to support all these app dev teams who are off trying to do their CI/CD pipelines and this kind of stuff. This looks like an easy way for which they can get on top of one of the major tasks that they know they need to deal with. It was interesting. I talked to the storage team of one of our customers, who they tend to look at software-defined storage a bit apprehensively, but a member of the team was in there, was the guy who manages their backup infrastructure, and he got it. He got it immediately. He saw the value of having something that runs within OpenShift, so it's cloud-native application managing the backup of their cloud-native applications, and I think he was very impressed with how far we had come, how quickly we had come with it. And he could, even though it was going to be disruptive to his environment, he saw the value of doing this right, as opposed to trying to bolt it onto existing platforms that could maybe do it, but they were really stretching their underlying paradigms in order to address container native applications.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the areas where, with HCI, for example, our HCI customers, one of the big things they tell us a lot is, this gives me an engineered solution. I don't have to go integrate and build my own from piece parts, which I can do, and many customers do, but it's time consuming, it's expensive, it's kind of fraught with risk and uncertainty. Support becomes a headache, right? So the ability to roll in an engineered solution, plug it in, turn it on, deploy the apps, if and when problems do arise, there's one phone call to make to IBM for support. It just dramatically simplifies that kind of runway to production readiness. So that's a huge benefit that we hear about from all of our customers. So,
well, and I think you hit one of the key points, right? It's a solution. It's not a set of tools, right? Yeah. And they have, if you're an OpenShift person and you're trying to you're being asked to onboard a whole lot of tools to manage all these new processes. The fact that you have a complete solution that says, hey, we've figured it out. We've integrated the tools together into something that makes it very easy for you to do it. It's not, oh, hey, now I got 6 more tools I got to learn how to manage. So,
yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. So I say we go for another, I don't know, another 2 or 3 minutes. That'll give us kind of 20 minutes ish, which is what we're shooting for. Any parting thoughts? We'll go around the horn.
I'll kick it off. Yeah, and I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball, and I know we've only got 2 minutes, so we don't have a lot of time. But I want to get my pitch in for Fusion and OpenShift as a platform, and everything that we've talked about here in terms of simplicity, ease of use, ease of deployment. I mean, you need to be thinking about the platform that you're going to deploy. And sure, you could go, a lot of this is open source, and you could go grab the hundreds of open source projects and try to integrate and test them yourselves, not just once, but on an ongoing basis. Or you could work with Red Hat and IBM, who built the best solution in the marketplace for not just the application services, but the data services too. So that's my little bit of plug. And whether you're looking at, porting your applications to Kubernetes, or you're looking to just bring over your virtual machines, we can do that too. We support it all. So that's the big point I wanted to get across, is the whole point about think about a platform.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And also, think a lot of customers that I talk to, and you guys probably have the same experience, they are all in on application modernization. They're like pressing forward with OpenShift, but they haven't really thought about the infrastructure. They just make some assumptions. Oh, I'll just use what I have. Like, no problem. I'll get some CSI drivers. I'll do some of this, some of that, and I'll just roll it out and it'll be fine. And, maybe in the early stages, that's okay. You can do some preliminary testing and, kind of smoke testing. But then as you go to try to roll it into production, you very quickly expose those vulnerabilities. So the message to take away is think about your infrastructure and your platform modernization and preparation first before you move aggressively into that kind of whole lift and shift or refactoring of your applications into the new environment.
Yeah, you'll save yourself a lot of pain in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alrighty. Well, that's going to, I think, wrap this session up. Apologies for the obvious, misfire at the beginning. We'll figure it out for the next one, but, at least we did manage to get live on YouTube. So it's only a 75% failure. So it could have been worse. But we'll sort it out for next time. So thanks for everybody who did watch or was able to join us. If you're watching this after the fact, stay tuned for future episodes, which will go more smoothly than this one. But thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Pete and Kelly, as always. And we will talk again soon.
Thanks, everybody.